Hello and welcome to episode 119 of the Positioning to Profit podcast. Today's solo show. I'm going to be sharing my take on how to leverage your time more, how to monetize more, and how to really expand your thinking around what's possible so that you're working less and making more. So this is something where I have, through trial and error, been in a situation where I've created great content, or so I think is, or I believe it's great content, I should say, and then it doesn't go anywhere. It falls on deaf ears, or people just don't pay attention, or they haven't even opened the email, or they didn't look at the thing that you had, and you really put a lot of time and energy around it. So what happens? We get frustrated. We think, oh, okay, this doesn't work. So let me try something new. Let me try this thing, or let me do that thing, or let me go here, go there. We look externally to find the answers. And while it is important to look for answers, it is also really important to reflect on what you've created and see if there's more that you can do with what you've created. So that's really the impetus for creating this episode and sharing with you, because I see this as a chronic issue where we are on the content hamster wheel. So, and as part of that, I put together a course. If you go to repurposecourse.com, it's just a little mini course, chock full of lots of value though, repurposecourse.com, where I talk about how to repurpose your content. Okay. So what else do I have? Prolific Women Entrepreneurs Facebook group. If you haven't already joined, I invite you to join over there, prolificwe.com, to join the group over there. So it's for women only. So sorry guys, you can't join. And basically we're sharing insights around being an entrepreneur, being in this entrepreneur space. And as always, I'm dropping intel on positioning to profit, because we're in this game for the long haul. So with that, let us get on with the show. And here we go. Hey there, I'm Dominguez. You're about to discover what it means to position your brand and your business to stand out. This show explores the stories of small business owners just like you who are bringing their message out to the world and impacting their tribe. So if you want to take your business to a category of one status, then hang with me, because this podcast shares everything you need to know about how to be more prolific with your brand so that you can have more profits. Hello, hello, hello. I appreciate you being here, as always, every single week for the weekly podcast where I share practical tips, strategies for positioning you to profit, as well as bringing on guests every single show that share their journey of entrepreneurship, specifically women in entrepreneurship. And it really brings me a lot of joy to do that. I remember the podcast that I had once upon a time, 2015, with my friend Tim Wambach, Boss Free Society. It was a really, really great podcast. We interviewed so many heavy hitters in the online marketing space, but what I found, it was like all guys. It's a bunch of dudes. And I was like, okay, I really want to do things with women. And the other thing is that I saw that was so rampant was this whole thing of like interviewing or hearing these podcast interviews with all the heavy hitters, right? All the big names in the space. And I'm like, well, what about the little known person, right? The one that you don't necessarily hear about, but is doing some really cool things. What about them? It'd be so great to have them on a podcast. So instead I was like, okay, well, let me do the podcast then. Let me figure it out and highlight those women that are doing things that are making a difference in the world. And so that was really the impetus. And I just love podcasting. So total sidebar to the general topic. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate doing this every single week, and many of you reaching out and saying that you enjoy the podcast, the episode, that you listen to it on your walk as your thing and doing your thing, or catching up with it in the car. So I don't take it lightly. I really appreciate all the support. And my intention every single episode is to bring something new and fresh to you, to get your wheels turning around what's possible in your business, what's possible to stay on the path, stay the course, because there's a lot of overinflated promises, especially in the online marketing space, around how to make a gajillion dollars in 2 days, like all that junk is just that. It's junk. It's noise. Stay the course. Stay focused. Keep your eye on the prize. Hold what you want in your mind and then take action to do it. Which brings me to the topic of this episode, because I'm going to have more on that, right? I'm going to have more coming very shortly. I'm working on something behind the scenes. Total segue again. Sorry, I'm all over the place, but I'm not, because this is all working together. I'm putting together something really awesome that I will be rolling out in the coming weeks that I'm very, very proud of. It's a compilation of the books that I've read and the things that have impacted me deeply through this entrepreneurship journey over the past 9 years. But then even before then, I've been such a practitioner of personal development. It is a very important priority for me to just keep my head in the game. And so I'm kind of grabbing these concepts, extrapolations of what I've learned in all these years and bringing it to you in this amazing challenge. I cannot wait to tell you more about it. Okay, so let us get on with the show. I got into this whole process of repurposing some time ago because I remember seeing so many of the things that I was creating kind of falling flat. And the thing is that there's a lot of work in content creation. And I don't know about you, but for me to create something, it really takes concerted effort. Like I really got to get into a space of focus. I got to get in the zone, and I create mind maps and outlines, and I put things together, and I'll roll something out, sometimes only to find that nobody looked at it, nobody saw it. And how many times has that happened to you? Or I've heard other people tell me, like, I write these amazing emails, I send them out, and they don't go anywhere. Right? Like I'll use them once, but then I'm not repurposing them. That email was really good, or that email got a lot of clicks. And there's so many things that you can do to repurpose your content. So I was really thinking about how much effort we take when it comes to content creation. And I had this whole analogy of like, I feel like a hamster on the wheel, like just going, always working on content. What else can I do? What else can I do? Whereas you can take the concept of content creation and make it a game. Okay, so here's the first step. Make it a game so that you purposefully say, how am I going to repurpose this one piece of content in different ways, right? At least 3 different ways that I can reutilize this content. There's so many things that you can do with that. So many. And the thing here to remember, tip number 2, is that everything is an asset. And I say this to my clients all the time. And if any of my clients are listening to this, you're like, oh my God, here she goes again. But it's true. This is how we position ourselves to profit. So positioning to profit is not just about the positioning of your brand. It is positioning you as the business owner on being a good steward of your time, because time is finite. Time is more important than money. So it's imperative that we are really making the most of our time and being really strategic with our time, right? And then the other side of it is that once you see that everything from a content creation standpoint is an asset, you treat it differently. You look at it in a different way. Tip number 3 is that you can also monetize passively the content that you're creating. So let me give you a really cool example. When was this? Last year, for example. I'm always creating content, right? But I worked on a challenge. It was like a boot camp, and I had created all these slides. And I always look at all the slides that I create as like I'm creating a library of slides. So all of the presentations or whatever it is that I'm doing, workshops, what have you, I just kind of have like this whole library of slides. But I had put together a challenge of sorts, and I presented something. It was over 3 days, and I was like, wow, this is some really good content. So I just changed the intro and the outro of stuff, but the meat of the presentation, a good 85-90% of it was exactly the same. I just changed the intro a little bit, I changed the outro a little bit. So there's so many things that you can do. And if you look at it kind of like a train car, where you have these trains and you're putting them together, and you can use the red train and the blue cart and this cart and that cart. It's just taking things and looking at it as pieces of the puzzle, as carts on the train that you can repurpose and re-engineer, so that then you're creating a new offer in the market, something that looks fresh and new and timely. So that's the other thing, is really looking at things like that, that everything that you're creating is creating an asset library for you. Okay, so very, very important to see it in that way. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do to get away with the fact that I'm taking all this content, repurposing it? Are people going to know that they're seeing the same information over and over again? Well, enter the very savvy article I saw in Harvard. It was like an article where it was stated, so there was a study that was done that showed that people, before they buy, have to be exposed to your brand and solution an estimate of 28 times. 28! So you may have heard in the past that it was 7 times or something like that. I guess that was the case, I don't know, in the 80s, 90s, because it's certainly not the case. People have to see you and the message that you have and the offers that you have 28 times in order for them to pay attention enough. So no, it's not obvious to the person on the receiving end that they may be seeing some of the similar content. The fact of the matter is, it's a very, very noisy world, and imagine how many pieces of content people are being exposed to at any given day, all over the place. Starting from the phone, from the moment that they wake up, turning on their phone and just being bombarded with all kinds of information. So they're not necessarily weeding out what it is that you're specifically sending out. And then it's not like anybody's like, hey, didn't you send this very slide in another presentation or what have you? So the important thing to recognize is that you can absolutely repurpose content in a way that is presenting something fresh and new. And when you, and again, really optimizing your time around it. So make it a game. Make sure that every piece of content that you are creating is evergreen. You're not putting a timestamp on it. You're not making it time-bound specific. Instead, keep it general so that it doesn't matter if I'm looking at this in 2021 or 2023, it's going to be received the same because it's evergreen. Okay, so that's the first thing. It is an asset. You're really leveraging your time when you repurpose content in a way that you're creating new, fresh content, like I mentioned. So understanding the truth around that is that you can serve up content that is meeting the needs, the pain points of your ideal customer, the premium prospect that I call, and you can present it in different ways where you're talking to them about, like, have you thought about this solution? Have you thought about that solution? And then it is all basically the same content that you're repurposing over and over and over again, perhaps in a podcast, perhaps in a video on YouTube, perhaps something on Instagram, perhaps in an email, could be a blog post. There's so many different ways that you can put this together. So because I saw that there was such a need, and because I have been doing this pretty much for a very long while now, I put together just some quick tips, 15 ways that you can repurpose your content, 15 ways. And there are all really savvy ways that you can repurpose. That is also the opportunity for you to monetize. So that's the other part of it, is that just because you put content out there in one way, then you didn't charge, you could absolutely repurpose the content and charge for it. Absolutely. So take advantage of that. Head on over to repurposecourse.com. Repurposecourse.com. It is a little course that I put together. It'll take you right to a simple page with a video of me explaining it and then going into detail on how you can jump in on that course. It's super valuable. I'm telling you. Not because I put it together and I think it's awesome, but because these are strategies that work with different content that I've offered for free, then I've monetized, and I've remonetized, and then I've put things together in ways that have gotten me more exposure for my brand, on and on and on. Again, repurposecourse.com. Okay, and so that is my grand tip for today. Make sure to repurpose your content, get off of that hamster wheel. There's no need to be on it. And really, more than anything, leverage your time. That is the one thing that if I could go back and think about, I would say, okay, well, how can I leverage my time in a better way? Because I associated working harder with I don't know, somehow earning the money and deserving money, just weirdness. You don't need to do that. Just create a game. How can I work less and make more? Honestly, that's like my new mantra. I'm going to be talking more about that because that is really how you can position yourself as a CEO of your business to profit in a very simple, smart way. That's how you win at this. Okay, so again, repurposecourse.com. The course goes into this KISS and repurpose, KISS being an acronym where keep it super simple and repurpose. And I go into the 15 ways that you can repurpose your content. and I think it's awesome. So hopefully you can check it out, and I will see you on the next show. Okay, thanks so much. Hey, thanks for checking out the Positioning to Profit podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, please do consider leaving us a rating and review over on iTunes. We so appreciate it. And then also, please do connect with me on socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the things. And then lastly, if you haven't already done so, check out Prolific Women Entrepreneurs. If you go to prolificwe.com, it'll redirect you to the Facebook group where we're building a group of like-minded women in entrepreneurship, and you are more than welcome to join us there. Okay, and lastly, I know I said lastly, but now I really mean it. Definitely consider, if you are looking to grow your business and are in it for the long term and are looking for like-minded women who are making it happen, check out prolificcafe.com. All the details on the community will be there. I promise you, it is like nothing you've ever seen. I am so passionate about curating this beautiful group of women who are just making it happen, creating expansion, creating impacts, and you are more than welcome to check it out again at prolificcafe.com. Okay, and with that, we'll see you on the next show.